All right, guys. Welcome to the Can't Quit My Day Job podcast. I'm Brett McDaniel. And today it's all solo. So Michael and I have been talking for about 2 weeks now. We've been like, oh, dude, we got to do our own episodes. So that way we could go and do something, because our podcast has been lackluster in the last 2 weeks because our schedules just have been all over the place. So today I was sitting, we got done super early for both of us, and I've been just chilling with the wife and my daughter, and I was like, you know what? It's 3 o'clock. I don't got soccer till 5. I can knock out an episode. So fuck it. Here we are. It's funny. I came out to the garage, and I was like, all right, let's go in. Let's sit down. Let's set the phone up. And how am I going to do this by myself? Because with Michael, it's organic between the two of us. We feed off each other, where it's like we both could go and talk. And we don't know what's going to happen next, but we lean on each other a lot. And so this is really out of our norm to have just one of us doing an episode, let alone myself. So I'm like, fuck it. I thought about doing Instagram Live. I thought about doing different things, hitting up other people, or just me and him going on Instagram Live and just talking shit to each other while other people watch with an audience. But we do that all day anyway. So this is something that I figured, something came up a couple weeks ago, and it's been eating at me a little bit, and it's one of those things where I wanted to talk about it, and I told Michael, like, dude, we need to do an episode on it. But I know that him and I have a lot of the same opinion, so it's basically going to be both of us saying the same thing. So that's where I wanted to go and say, you know what, fuck it, I'll just go and say what I need to say. If he has anything to say, he could go and say what he needs to say. He's going to watch this, he'll listen to it, because as far as he knows, I just texted him saying, yo, bro, I'm going to do a podcast without you, and that's it. And he knows what I'm going to talk about and whatnot. And it's a little bit more serious than it usually is. We're normally doing stupid shit or like rambling or, a guest or whatever. But this was one that being in this podcast community, I want to pay respect to all the other people that are around us. And I've been listening to other podcasts to go and give them a check, check them out. I have a couple that I actually thoroughly enjoy, and I have a couple that followed us that I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna check them out. And I've been pretty entertained. There's been a lot of them that have been really good, but it's just, there was one that stuck out to me. I'm not gonna talk about exactly what it is or what they do. But I'll leave it as they're younger people. They're not blue collar people, and even if, blue collar or not blue collar, I don't give a fuck what classification of work you do or anything like that. My wife's could be a teacher, so that's white collar all day. I love being a truck driver. That's blue collar all day. Doesn't matter. It's about the pride in the work that you do, and it's like that's what. They had a topic on one of their episodes, and it was like motivation versus something else. And that's what made me think, like, what motivates me, what makes me determined, like, what's the difference between those two? And then discipline. That's what it was. Motivation versus discipline was their bullshit. Well, mine is motivation, determination, and discipline. I want to throw in determination because you could be motivated all day, you could be determined all day, and you could be disciplined all day. But without all three of those going and working in tandem, you're not at your full potential. Foxtrot Spark Notes is a dude that talks about potential all day. He's an electrician, and this guy he's a wizard. He says he's not smart, but he goes and finds the easier ways to think of things. And I was on his show, and he was talking about that, how we were talking about different potentials and stuff like that. What's the potential? How do you get to your full potential? Well, in my opinion, your full potential starts at the discipline level. Then you get your determination, and then what motivates you to go and do it. And when you have all three of those in sync, that's what really goes and makes it like so you could do these crazy amounts of things with little bits of effort. And I'll give you guys examples. Hold on. First, I gotta drink my beer because it's fucking 3:30 in the afternoon, and I was like, I gotta have a beer. If I'm doing a podcast, I can't not have a beer. Like, this is just weird. Like, I thought about coming out here with the water, and I'm like, I can't talk to these fools with the water. So, all right. So, discipline. Discipline is like the core thing for me. And when I say discipline, like, I grew up in a very different lifestyle. I grew up like in a very big family. I got 4 brothers and 1 sister. And not to get into too much detail, but I was not handed a life that most people would choose. It was a pretty fucked up life. But with that fucked up life, I've never had that as a crutch. I've never used that as what's going to define me. What I've done is I've used those things that were fucked up, of being hungry, no water, different situations that happened. And like I said, this is like my youth. Before I was 16, before I was able to go and take control of my own self, it was also a different time of, the early 2000s and stuff like that, where kids could go out and not worry about being picked up from strangers or anything. Or that was just the joke. And then people took it too far, and now they're fucking abducting kids and fucking selling them. That was, but back when I was younger, like, I knew I was poor, but I didn't go and like go around, oh, I'm poor. Now I use that as a joke to myself, like to remind myself, you're poor. Don't overreach. Stay within your boundaries. Stay with what you could afford. Live the lifestyle that you know you can handle. Because when you do stupid decisions and you do stuff that jeopardizes things, that's where you could go, you lose everything. You could literally lose everything off of small situations or big situations. And so before I was 16, that's like my first chunk of life where I was like, I worked for like little things to go and just scrape up some cash. Like I worked at a little liquor store down the street from the house, and the guy would pay me in chips and soda. And that's how I got my snacks. And I would do different things to go and help people to go and get paid. I'd mow grass, I'd wash windows, I'd do whatever it fucking took just to get a couple bucks here and there. And there was a family that really helped out my family significantly. And that was life-changing, because it was a family that was able to go and take care of people. And we were part of that group, and we all were like a pack. And so without that, I'd be in an even worse situation. But because I had such a good foundation with people looking out for us, and then me respecting, I never went and overreached from my knowledge. Like I never overreached. I did do one thing that was scary but amazing at the same time. I'll get to it later. But okay, let's start with when I turned 16. When I was 16 and a half, I got a job at Vons, the grocery store. And from that moment on, my discipline was making sure I was up ready for high school in the morning every day. And my little brother, I had to make sure he was up and ready also, because I drove both of us to school. I was in the marching band, played trumpet. I was the first trumpet player, so it was like I had to set the standard. And at this time, my older brother was my teacher. So it's, the discipline just keeps tacking on. All the shit that I have to go and walk this tight rope, because if I fuck up in school, they're going to take my workers permit away. I can't have a job anymore. Then I can't make no money. That's a problem. If I fuck up in band, I'm going to lose my part, and I'm going to go and get brought down a peg or two. That wasn't an option. If I mess up with band with my brother, that's going to cause a rift in the band, and then students are going to go in and treat my brother like shit, and they're going to treat me like shit. So I always made sure that I was prompt, I was on time, made sure I was ready. I did whatever I could to go and help people, even if it was a little bit. I was an asshole, I was a jerk about it, but I also was very disciplined with it, where I was like, you know what, if we're going to do it right. And I've always had that instilled in me. You know, and then so when I was 17, I had a manager at my store, and he, from the outside looking in, I knew there's something wrong with this dude. He wasn't, like, he was sketchy. But it was the store director. And this guy was like, hey, if you work your butt off, you could be like me one day. And I was like, I could do that. I could work my butt off and I could become a manager. So I was sweeping the gutters every morning when I would open on the weekends. And then during the summers, they put me as the opener. I'd go in, I'd sweep the gutters. I would make sure everything was clean. I would wipe down counters. I would learn extra stuff to go and get things done. So that way, when I turned 18, I had the opportunity to go and do anything. And when I said I could do anything, at Vaughn's, anyone from Desert Hot Springs that watches this or listens, they can tell you, they've seen me pretty much in every damn near department. I was doing everything. And then, eventually, I moved up and became the gas station manager, which, who gives a shit? You're just a gas station manager. But in doing that, I was making these little goals. And those little goals were like, weekly, I'd go, okay, what were my sales this week? How could I add an extra 10%? How could I add more money to go and make a bigger budget? So I was using a skeleton crew, but maximizing it as if it was a liquor store, I'm not a liquor store, but a bigger store. My tiny gas station was competing with what like Chevrons were doing inside the store, because it's not about what you sell outside, it's what you sell inside. The gas on the outside is always going to sell. It's what can you sell on the inside. And I was so determined, this is where determination comes in. I was so determined to always do better and always go and get better and better, because that becoming a manager, the store manager, was never out of my mind. That guy told me, dude, you could be a manager. You got to work your butt off. And I was like, all right. And I listened to him. And he didn't steer me in the wrong direction. He ended up getting fired for other shit and then got, he tried taking me along with him to another company, and that didn't happen. But the guy had his own self-motivation was what made me think I could do that. Because he wasn't anything special. He was just a dude that knew how to work. And I'm like, I'm a dude that knows how to work, so I'm going to keep doing that. So later down, I go and find out, I finally find out, like, hey, I'm either going to go and move up or I'm going to move out. So I went to the management and I asked for a raise, and they were like, no, it's not going to happen. And I explained to them my little brother made more money running security than I did as a manager after 7 years. And they were like, that's cool. Maybe you should think about going into security. So that day, I was crushed. I'm not going to lie. I was crushed. In a professional setting, I was crushed. At the time, I was going to college. I was with my wife, with then girlfriend, and I didn't know what to do. We had our daughter, and I was just like, what am I going to do? We're not making enough to go and suffice by ourselves. We had to have a roommate, and I didn't want to depend on a roommate in our house. And our roommate wanted to move out. He had family he wanted to move with, and I'm like, I'm not going to hold you back, dude. If you got to go, we'll figure it out. And so I was juggling and trying to figure it out, and the motivation kicked in. This is where I got motivated. Like, my daughter's here, my wife, at the time it was my girlfriend, but I got my girlfriend. What am I going to do? I got to go and provide for these people. That's what a man does. That's what a family does, is they go and they do the best they can to support the family. And so then I talked to the receiver. The receiver's like, yo, this company's hiring. Why don't you go get in with them? And I did. And that's the company I work for now. The opportunities that was given to me at this company is insane. I'll say it like that. I pretty much, when I got hired on, they treated me good. They went and they had me as a merchandiser. I was stocking shelves and building displays. And I picked up a route pretty quick up in Yucca Valley to 29 Palms. And it was fucking awesome. I loved it. I loved being a merch. The problem is it was cool, but it wasn't paying the bills. So I got motivated again. I got determined. I said, I saw all these other guys that were merchant for a very long time, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I already pigeonholed myself at another company. I'm not going to do that here. And I got interested in more stuff, and I was asking questions, and I got that motivation to go and keep moving. The harder you work, the more money you make. That's what I always got told. They weren't wrong. They were not wrong at all. From the money that I was making at Vaughn's when I first left to what I make now is a world's of difference. And it's not because of me slacking it, doing stupid podcasting or anything like that. No, it's come from hours of hard work, of creativity, of training courses, of, there was a time that I was building resets for liquor stores, writing sales orders, merchandising, and building creative Coachella displays, for the company I worked for. I was doing all of that, and still was able to get home and take care of my kids and all that, and be with my wife and all that. And it was all the sacrifice was hours. I was losing hours. I was losing a ton of hours of sleep, hours away from the family, but I was still doing everything. I was going and taking my work home with me, and that was another hurdle that I had to jump. So the discipline part for me has always been self-natural. I've always been very disciplined in when you need to be on time and wake up, go. Just do it. Don't question it. Don't say, oh, well, can I milk it 5 more minutes? No. Can I show up a little bit late? Will they be late? No. I do that. I do that now on my own route. Like I say I come in at 4, but I might come in at 4:05. Because that's my own route. That's my time. But if I'm getting told, hey, you need to be here at 4, I'm there at 4. If I'm told you need to be there at 3, you be there, I'm not there at 3. I try being there 15 minutes early if possible or whatever, just to make sure I have traffic and all that, because you can't control everything, but you can control your time. That's one thing. And the discipline in that has made things so much easier to go and focus on the determination and the motivation. So when I told myself, like I saw Michael broke the ceiling. Michael broke the glass. I brought him with me to the beer company. I had him leave Ralph's to go work for a cookie company for a bit until he could get in with me. And when I got him in, the guy was a stud. Michael kicked ass at it. Michael was a great worker. That's what he is. He's a worker. He's an amazing worker. I love having that dude, like, as my co-pilot, as my best friend, as my brother, like, all of that. Like, you guys don't understand, like, he alone has made my professional setting at this company so much easier because of his success. Because people already liked me. People already saw, like, a good potential in me. But for me to go and say, hey, this guy's the guy. We need him at this company. And then what he did with, he was a merchandiser, and then he said, I want to be a driver. And he got linked up with the right people, and they took care of him, helped him get his driver's license, and now he's looked at as one of the top dudes at the company. I mean, shit, the guy was tied for driver of the month this last month. He only lost on a technicality. It was a stupid-ass technicality. But that's neither here nor there. This dude is a stud. He kicks ass. But he broke the ceiling because he was a merchandiser, and he said, I want to be a driver. And the company was like, okay, fuck it. We'll give the kid a try. And so he got his driver's license through the company. The company trained him, taught him, took him to the DMV, and he took the test, and he passed, and he got his license. And he was working as a in the merchandiser department as a driver. He was driving for our company as a merchandiser because they needed drivers, but they weren't ready to hire yet. And so this guy was like driving before he was even supposed to drive. And then once he became a driver on his own, it was just organic. It was natural. Now that was his determination. That was his motivation. I know what motivated him, but I'll let him tell that side. My determination, after I saw him do that, I was like, I got to get my driver's license. I got to do it too. Because I love the physicality of my job. I love being able to move. I love being able to see my customers and all that, have that routine and all that. And even if I don't have the routine, if I run a different route, it bothers me because I want to run my stuff because it's my route and it's easier. I know how to get in and get out and get things done quick, efficient, and clean. But shit, I've been thrown curveballs so many times, and it is what it is, and I just run it because they know that I can do it and I will do it, and I'll make sure that the customer's happy. It doesn't matter. But the thing is when Michael did that, he told me, he's like, you could do it. I did it. You could do it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I spent a good couple weeks studying. And I didn't even tell my wife. I didn't tell nobody. I told Michael. And then I would call Michael. And I would go on my phone on these different apps of practice tests. And I'd be like, dude, how do I do? I remember the first time I did it, I was like, dude, I don't know any of this. And then by the end of it, I was reading, or I would have him read me the questions, and I would say the answers before he was done reading the question. Because I knew. I picked it up. It took me weeks. And I'm not a very strong reader, so I had to hear it. So I was making him read to me so I could do it. But I was determined. I was like, I have to do this. I have to get my driver's license. I have to do this because I have to provide for my family. I have to do something that's going to go and get me that full potential. And so I was motivated with the family. I was determined to do it. And I was disciplined enough to study. And I made sure I put all those together, put it all to work, and then I was like, bam, time to go take the test. I went to driving school. The company put me through driving school. It was 20 hours crash course. Luckily, I knew how to drive stick, so I didn't have to worry about that part. The manual part was the easy part for me. It was more, I couldn't understand the counter steering, which now is natural to me. I do it better than I do in my freaking car now. But when I first started, I just could not alley dock. I could not parallel park a semi truck. I just couldn't do it. I'm gonna be honest. But I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, and I'd run a sales route. Then I'd try driving out to San Bernardino to go drive a truck for an hour because I was like, I have to do this. And I was living in Yucca Valley, so I was doing a lot of driving back and forth just so I could get this done. But I was determined to go and make sure, hey, I got to make sure I'm doing a great thing for my family, for my kids, and I know what I can do. Doing all this has paid off. It honestly has. It's made my life so much better. It's all because of that determination, motivation, and discipline. Because I was always doing what I can to get myself to the next step. What's going to be the next step? And right now, there's short-term goals and long-term goals. I have a long-term goal. I will be moving up, in the company, but I don't plan on doing that anytime soon. I want to go and stay where I'm at. I love the pocket I'm in right now. It's a great pocket. Right now, it's all about just getting better because I'm not the best driver. I make sure I stay very humble with that. I will go and talk shit to people all day about how I'm a better runner. I could go and run this. I could run that. I could go and talk shit all day about getting shit done, but I will never talk shit on driving a truck because it is such a humbling thing. And with that, it goes you take a responsibility with yourself as the driver, and you take the responsibility as other people on the road. You take their burden of responsibility as well, because you want to make sure that you get there safely, and anyone that's around you is getting to their destination safe as long as they're around you. And that's a crazy burden that we carry, and that's what's been trained into us. And I'm not mad at them for doing that. It's a great tool to have because there's countless times that I've evaded car accidents. I've evaded so many different obstacles, whether it be in my regular car or it's in my truck or I'm fucking walking at the grocery store. You'll be amazed. If you see me in a crowded area with my kid, I'll grab my kid by the head. Just put my hand on their head and I'll just go boop, 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 and we'll just maze ourselves through places because I'm just reading traffic, walking right through a freaking Walmart. It doesn't matter. I just read traffic. That's all we do is read traffic, and it's just constantly practicing that. So, hold on. Need another drink. Shout out to Mandela Tamarindo, man. That shit is bomb. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Yeah, it's all about, like, I go and I see all these different things going on with, like, the politics and all that shit. And I'm not going to get into all that. The thing that, like, that made me laugh was the Hodge twins. They went and posted up a video about Bernie Sanders talking about universal education. And then they did their own shout out to the trades. They're like, yo, you know what? If everyone's got the same fucking education, you're competing with thousands and thousands of people. If you want to do something like that, why don't you go and get paid for it and go get a trade? And I'm like, bam, that's a good idea. Why doesn't everyone go and think about doing trades? And so this video is also like to go and motivate people, like, because I was in a rut before I came to, like, to go and, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be a teacher. Then I was like, I want to be an art teacher. Then I was like, I want to be an art teacher to deaf kids at a residential school. It kept evolving. I wanted to be a teacher. I don't know, like, I had a good teacher in 3rd grade, and she, like, made me want to be 5th grade. She made me want to be a teacher, and I'm just like, fuck, man, like, I just want to be a teacher. I just want to be a teacher. Because I thought that was the way to do it. Growing up, everyone's like, oh, you need a college education. You need a college education. That was thrown down my throat. And I'm just like, fuck, dude, like all my youth up until I went to college. I went and I dropped out, like, a couple classes short of a couple associate's degrees. And I dropped out because it's just like, it wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't my shit. Like, my shit is being physical. And the company that I work for, you know, they're paying me pretty good money to go and work my ass off. So I was like, I could go and, there's potential here. So I'm going to take that potential. I'm going to run with it. And I'm going to see what I could get out of it. And it benefited me tremendously, as I keep saying. Like, it really had, I'm not rich. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rich. I'm very happy with where everything's at. And I'm not hungry like I was. I was hungry. I could always go for more, but I'm not starving myself. You know, I'm living it pretty good for what I do. But there's a lot of work that I had to do to get here. It's not just like, oh yeah, you know, I got, you know, the lucky coin or whatever. No, I got a shit ton of work, a shit ton of stress, a shit ton of that. And after all of it, remember, I'm 30 now, so 14 years of being in the workforce. I've been gainfully employed for 14 years. From the day I quit Vaughn's was my first day at this company. I have not been unemployed. I've not been laid off. Luckily, I would never have to go on strike. I've worked, unless I was on vacation, for the last 14 years, and I've loved it. I've loved working, because that's what I do. I love working. And it's crazy, because people are like, oh, you know, like, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, I hang out with my kids and work. Like, that's it. Like, I hang out with my family and I work. That's it. You know, I do know how to do some, like, I know how to play a couple instruments here and there. Not even that well. But for the most part, it's just work. It's always work, you know. And I didn't even talk about the ranch. I just talked about doing the 9-to-5 type shit, the actual physical work. But I was also juggling the ranch. 10 years ago, we got asked to help with the ranch, and fucking, we've been going strong. We've been doing it, and there was a couple years there that we weren't going as much, but it's because we got it in a good spot. We got it to a good spot, and then these last going on 3 years, this summer will be 3 years, I've been going to the ranch nonstop, always, every weekend for the most part. Making sure that it's up to par, making sure that it's taken care of. And that was one thing that, like, shit, man, juggling college, juggling a family, juggling work, constantly juggling. My alarm clock has basically been set at 4:30, 5 o'clock for the last 14 years, pretty much. Shit, if you want to even count with high school, like, it's even been longer. But I'm always, now, my clock has moved back. You know, on Thursdays, I go into work at 3 a.m., so I'm waking up at 2 every Thursday, 2 in the morning. And every other day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and shit, I'm going in at 4, so I'm getting up at 3. And I love it still. There's some days that are harder than others, but that's where that discipline comes in. I'm disciplined. I'm very disciplined on making sure I'm on time, waking up, getting ready. I know what I have to do. There's no options. There's no, oh, well, you know what? If I come in this. Yeah, okay, there's wiggle room. I'll go and give you that. There is wiggle room. There's times that I go and I think about it and I go, you know what? I don't need to do that. But there has to be wiggle room. But for the most part, I'm always on point with making sure I'm up, making sure I'm ready, make sure I go. And I go to work in a good peace of mind right now. When I was doing sales, I hated it. I hated going to work. I was disciplined, but I hated it. And I was not happy. I was like having a hard time because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Did I want to do resets? Did I want to do big stores? Do I want to do little stores? Do I want to do restaurants? What do I want to focus on? What do I want to... And at the same time, they're not getting their hands dirty. They're pointing at each other to go and make other people do the work for them. I didn't like that. I like getting my list, my duties. This is what you need to do. Get it done. I like that. I like structure, knowing that when I'm done with my checklist, boom, 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 I'm done. And if I want more, there's an extra checklist I could start checking off. If I want to check off those, I get paid more. So it's like, okay. So there's days that, especially during the holidays, they say, hey, we need extra shit. Can you guys handle it? And yeah, I'll raise my hand if I can. If it fits in the schedule, if I could physically possibly do it, I do it. And so, yeah. This episode's a little weird, I know. And it's really weird just sitting here in my garage by myself, talking, hearing myself talk. But like that's a little bit about me. Like that's the thing that like you guys see how Michael and I are both creative and stupid and funny and intelligent at the same time. Like we have these crazy things, but it's like I wanted to do one, and then I want Michael to see it, and then him go, oh, you know what, I could do that, and him set up his own phone and him record himself and talk about what he wants to talk about. Because it's like, even with, I've been going for about 40 minutes or so, 30 minutes. With all of that being said, I've only given you guys bullet points. I've never given you guys details. The details is what really changes people. And there's like, with like I said, I didn't have an ideal childhood. I even had some shit happen as an adult. And it was life-changing, fucked up shit. But that's what goes and that's what changes you. Like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go and stand up and you're going to fucking push through it and muscle yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to do my best to not let this stuff happen again. Or, I'm not going to let this define me, or I'll never forget this. I'll have to make sure that this is in my heart and make sure that this is something I carry with me. But I'm not I'm not going to go and make people feel bad for me. That's not why I bring this shit up anyways. Like I said, these details. But the people that know, they know. Trust me. But it's one of them things that if I didn't have the shit that has happened to me, things wouldn't line up the way it lined up, the timeline. And then if my timeline doesn't line up, then this doesn't happen. You guys don't have a fucking stupid ass podcast that you listen to whenever we post that up, because shit, man, that's what the circumstances brought to us. Is it brought Michael and I together. It brought us to go and come up with this creative idea. This idea was just, hey, why don't we become long haul truck drivers and set up a GoPro in the truck and just buy hookers for each other into this community that we've made. This crazy, like, it's insane. There's a bunch of people that listen. There's a lot of people that listen. And the new people that are listening, I appreciate it. Thank you. The guys at work that have been stopping us or stopping Michael, telling him like, hey, I listen. That's fucking badass. You guys have no clue how awesome it is to go and there's people out there that are listening to what we have to say. And we're two dudes that are just dads that are working our asses off to provide for our families and do badass shit. Be funny and enjoy life. Like, that's it at the end of the day. And this one, this episode is a little bit more serious, and we'll get back to dick jokes and all that shit on the next one. Trust me. But I just wanted to go in. That was something that was on my mind. I was really, the determination, the discipline, and the motivation, like, it really got to me. because these people that actually had their episode, you know, they're young and they're college educated, and, you know, one of them's like, oh yeah, you know, I got all these student loans, but I still live with my parents, but I'm gonna go spend all this money on this and that. And it's like, fuck, dude, like, let's have priorities, guys. Let's have your shit. Like, I understand you don't have a family, and like they're 26. They're not that young, 4 years younger than me, but they're like, man, could you imagine if I had a kid? And I'm like, at 26, I had 2 kids, and I was providing for my kids. And at 26, I had my first house. I bought my first house, like, with my wife. We bought a house at 26 years old, and I've then flipped that house. And it's like, it's all based off of what your motivation is. My motivation is to I always want to stand out. I always want to make sure that I'm a good dad. I want to make sure that I'm a leader, a natural born leader. I don't want to tell people how to do their job, but if I have to, I do. And I get made fun of for it all the time. You know, they sent me a picture the other day. It says, act your wage, you're not a supervisor. And I was funny because it's true. But there's times that, like, I feel like that's what goes and sets me different from the other guys at work, is I go and I take that initiative to think, like, is this something that, you know, is this right or is this wrong? And I weigh the pros and cons, and then I go and I try to push, you know, people in the right direction, whether it's myself or the person we're busting their balls for doing something. You know, we do that all the time. It's not new, like, and it's funny, but, you know, that's how I look at every day as a part of my resume, because you never know what that day is going to have. You never know, you know, what you're going to do that day to go and improve your resume. And so if my resume says that I could do this X, Y, and Z, then I got to go and make sure I could do X, Y, and Z. But, you know, it updates. So when I took this new route that I'm on, you know, my resume updated. Now I'm in a higher volume thing. So then I got credibility. And then I went and I used that and got the team that I'm with now to full back me. They were happy with me coming down because they wanted a worker. But now these guys know, like, if I'm at work, my team knows, like, we're all in it together. We're all gonna help each other, and we're all gonna go and, like, think of these different ideas and think outside the box, and, hey, I need help with this time window. What do you think? And blah, 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 bouncing ideas. Whereas before I was just, a dude that was in the desert. But now, not no more. I'm a dude that people could go and come to with that have questions or ideas and run it through each other. So that's the point of being, you know, being a natural leader. And that's my motivation, being a natural leader and being a great dad and being a great husband and doing great things, because we all know, like, you never know what you're going to have at the end of the day, so fucking make the best of it, you know? So, that being said, we're working on, like, almost an hour, I think, 50 minutes. So, go ahead and ask me any questions you want. I'm listening. No, I'm just kidding. So, that being said, guys and gals and people, thank you. Thank you all for everything you guys do. For buying stickers, for slapping them stickers, because you can buy it all you want, but when they're slapped, put on something, and someone else could see it, that shit is dope. I've seen it on cars, seen it on welders' hoods. You know, it's badass. So I really appreciate you guys doing that. You know, showing the love on Instagram, commenting on here, doing everything you guys do. I truly do appreciate it. It does go a long way. And, fuck, I had something, I lost it. Oh well. You know, just keep doing what you guys are doing. And if you want to go and buy stickers, go to our Instagram. There's a link tree. Just click fucking sticker shop or whatever. And all that. Yeah. Fuck, man. I could have sworn I had something good to tell you guys, too. But I can't. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you guys. So, this is something that I thought of, like, spur of the moment, and then forgot it, and now I got it back again. Let's just say you're not a tradie yet. you're a person that listens to us or watches us or whatever, stumbled upon us, who gives a shit? And you're in a rut and you need guidance or anything like that. Like, you know, you need someone that doesn't know you to go and give you ideas. Hit us up. You know, trust me, with this podcast, we've reached so many different communities. We reach our truckers, tattoo community. We got blue collar people, construction people, like a shit ton of welders, and electricians. God damn, how many goddamn electricians follow us? You know, there's a bunch of different outlets that we could go and push you in their direction. If you need the support, like, we could help out. And that's something that's new that I thought of. Like, I was like, you know what? Because we're like an outlet and we all got to work together. You know, local non-union, Foxtrot, Bucket of Volts, all these guys, like, they adopted us into their little clique with blue collar workers, podcasting, and this and that. And they're, you know, local non-union's more funny, and they talk about just bullshit, random construction shit. But then you get to Foxtrot, that's going to go and teach people about different things, talk about potential, talk about this, and then you got Bucket of Volts that they fucking argue over which drill is better for 20 minutes. Like, all these different people have different styles, but you could jump into it and listen to it, and so, or we could contact them. So, that being said, gracias.